Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me tonight. And I have an awesome guest with me. And first, before we start the show, would you please all subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so? And would you please give my show a like? I'd really appreciate it. And tonight we have Darren Evans. Now, and our topic tonight is Ghost Adventures Aftershocks. Now, Darren Evans is the ZoZo Phenomena. And he is an expert on the Ouija board and on ZoZo. And Darren was a guest on, he was actually featured on Ghost Adventures on Season 10, Episode 3 on the Zozo Demon. So everyone, let's bring in Darren. Hey, Darren, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Noreen. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my God. It's always a pleasure to have you. I love having you on the show. Now, Darren, we're all waiting to find out what happened. What were the aftershocks of being on Ghost Adventures? But the thing is, there may be some people that are watching the show that know nothing about ZoZo and the phenomena behind it and what goes on with the Ouija board. So what I'd like you to do is give the viewers a little bit of background before we go into the Ghost Adventures episode.
Sure. I basically had discovered a strange phenomenon back in the mid '80s. There was a very strange double-sided Ouija board that was found underneath a house. And that's where my involvement with the ZoZo phenomenon begins. Never seen another double-sided board like this. Just crazy looking, had inscriptions. Somebody had spilled candle wax all over it and designs. And those they looked like tentacles, and they actually, on one side was a regular standard William Full board that we kind of traced towards the 1930s. But it was the other side that we called the dark side. That was just an amazing sight to behold. It was a work of art. And this particular board was found by a plumber underneath the house, and it was surrounded by jars of preserved blackbirds. And I remember the plumber handing me one of these jars that had this white chalky substance around them, and I assumed that substance was there to help preserve the animals inside. I was kind of expecting to see maybe some peaches or some canned preservatives or whatever, but when I wiped away this substance and held the jar up to the sun, I was looking into the eyes of rather large blackbird or crow inside these big mechanical lightning jars, they're called. And so that discovery was pretty incredible. Everybody that was around me at the time, we often wondered what was going on here. And this house was in no particular special house. It was a rather modest two-bedroom house in West Tulsa next to the Arkansas River in Sand Springs, Oklahoma. And so basically we began to have sessions on that board, and it didn't take long for this. I'd noticed that the word ZoZo was inscripted on the board, and it had wings surrounding the name. And so, I was a big Zeppelin fan back in the day, and I thought it was rather strange that here, on Zeppelin's fourth album, this, the one with Stairway to Heaven, the ZoZo album they called it. And so I thought that was kind of ironic that somebody had put a very similar name on that board. And so we began to have sessions on that board, and some very strange things happened. That's actually going to get into some of my early experiences in a new book project that we're happy to announce with Rosemary Ellen Guiley helping me write the big expose on the whole phenomenon. We hope to have that out by Halloween. We're really hoping for a Halloween release. And so that's kind of where it all began, Noreen. And by the way, you're looking very lovely as always.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I don't see the feathered boa yet. I'm sure it's coming. I hope it's coming.
Not tonight, honey. Not tonight. Okay, so Darren, how did this come about? Where Ghost Adventures wanted to do an episode on the Z Phenomena? Was this all geared around you? How did this all come about?
I was approached by the producers of Ghost Adventures to, at first, originally, having talked, being friends with Robert Murch and having talked to Jeff Belanger and a couple of guys that were involved with Ghost Adventures. They had approached me about doing a story based on some of my research on the phenomenon. And I told them, they wanted to know if I knew where there was a place where Zozo had manifested, and just to do a possible show or investigation. And I immediately thought, I was like, why not use the Hudson house, the house that I used to live in, that I did some of my early research in. And so that's kind of how that whole thing come about. Was they approached me to do a show on Ghost Adventures in regards to the phenomenon. And so that's I said, well, let's go back to the Hudson house. And it was not my intention to get back on the board, but I they kind of wanted to get me back on it, and I went ahead and decided to go ahead and get back on the board for the show.
So, Darren, you were able to go back into the original house?
Yeah, we went back into the haunted house, and it was. You talk about a crazy house. I consider it to be one of the most haunted places in Oklahoma. I've been to a lot of places, having lived in Oklahoma most of my life, and even when we moved in the place, you could just tell it was just crazy. The way the floors were uneven. It was like a leaning Tower of Pisa in this place. It was just a very strange home, the way it was constructed, the way it was built. You'd almost have to go in the house to try to. It's hard to explain how strange this house actually was, but it was a two-story home with 4 bedrooms on top, on the upstairs, and then it had a middle floor that had a big living room and a big kitchen, and then it had this really creepy basement, and it's like the floors just kind of leaned towards the basement, and it's like the basement was almost sucking you into it. And when we did the show, the paranormal phenomena, basically the noises, especially, and you talk about just a house that was incredible noises inside this house. The septic system, every time somebody flushed the upstairs toilet, you could just really hear a belching of the water moving through these pipes, and just created just the strangest noises. And so basically when, I met Zach Bagans right before we got into the house, and I had no idea that I was going to get back on a Ouija board. And that was about the first time since probably at least 7 or 8 years since I actually gotten on one. I used to be heavily involved in Ouija sessions, conducted hundreds of them, did all kinds of experiments. I had a bunch of logs, a bunch of diaries that I'd written that have become lost over the years. I wish I still had those, because there's some incredible stuff in those diaries. And so it was just, when we went back into the home, immediately everybody could just tell it was something weird was going on. You could tell if you watch the show, you can really almost feel the fear that was going on, looking in everybody's eyes and saying, "Oh my gosh, we're back in this house." And even Nick Groff, he was like dumbfounded. As many places, haunted locations that you guys have been in, you could just tell. And they made comments, several comments, that they could not believe feeling being inside that home, and they ranked it with some of the most haunted locations that they've ever been in the show's history.
Oh my God! Now, Darren, how come that house is still haunted? No, is it an actual haunted house today? Is it up for sale, or do they hold paranormal investigation?
No, it's not up for sale. There is a small Spanish family that live in the home to this day. At least they did a few months ago. I've been asked by several people to bring some people, some investigators, some big teams here in Texas and Oklahoma wanting to go in and conduct investigations, and they're not able to until after the Aftershocks episode premieres this Saturday. But after that, I can possibly arrange some investigations. But yeah, going back into the house was really strange, and then Zach tells me, "Well, Darren, we're going to get you back on the board." And I had told the producers, "Look, I don't want to get back on the board. I don't mind going through an investigation, helping, go through a lockdown." And then here I am, and Zach's can be a very intense fellow. he's a great guy. He's just so intense. He loves what he does. He has incredible passion for investigating, and is for the. He's kind of gone demon crazy. I think he's got a new book called "I Am Haunted," I believe. I talked to one of his co-authors about putting some commentary about the ZoZo Phenomena in the book. As I understand it, he's actually written a little bit about me in this new book, saying that he thinks that I have an attachment with this thing, and it's not something that I really like to admit, because I seem to be kind of unaffected, by it for the last several years. However, my wife will become very affected, and some other people around me, which is something I've kind of found a similarity in a lot of the emails sent to me in consulting in different cases involving the phenomena nationwide. It appears that it likes to attack the weakest link, even if not just the Ouija participants, but the family members, pets, those types of things. And then when the Ghost Adventures the ZoZo Demon House aired, there was a lot of strange reports of some paranormal phenomena to people that were watching the freaking show, Marie.
Oh my God.
I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of comments poured in through social media, on Facebook, Twitter, about people's animals going nuts, dogs behaving, growling, and people becoming sick and getting nauseated and vomiting during the show and having nightmares, just all kinds of freaky stuff. And we had no idea. Some people have claimed that the whole episode was scripted. I mean, there was no acting involved. We did not know what we were going to do when we went in that place. Everything that you see in that episode, it's edited, of course. There's some things that happened, very strange things that happened during the filming of that show that didn't make the final cuts, and I was surprised that they didn't show some of the things that were going on. Like when Nick Groff got under the stairs where my daughter was taken repeatedly and would wind up there in the middle of the night, whether she was sleepwalking or I don't know, but definitely seemed to attach itself to my little girl. We go into some of this stuff in this Saturday on the Aftershocks episode. It's going to be a very revealing look back at the investigation of things that have happened. I can't talk too much about it because it airs this Saturday. But yeah, it's going to be. I've talked to one of the producers, called me yesterday, asking how the episode looks, because they just finished it like 3 days ago, the post production, and they spent a little bit more time on this particular. It is the season premiere of of course, the last season 10 ended last week with Ghost Adventures, with the Texas motel or whatever that episode was. But the season premiere is this Saturday, and it's going to be a look back at at one of the scariest, Ghost Adventures in their 10-season history.
And yours is one of them. The ZoZo episode was one of them.
Yeah, it's for some reason, it's like, people just got really creeped out by that. And of course, anytime, you do an investigation, and I'm definitely someone who warns people to stay away from them. And so, I got some criticism for getting back on the board with some people that know me pretty well in these paranormal circles. And again, it wasn't something that I planned to do. It kind of just happened, and I'm not too proud of what happened. But I did not move the planchette. Nick Groff and Jay both said out loud that you could definitely tell that neither one of us were moving the planchette. And it was just very evident that we were not moving it. Of course, skeptics are going to be skeptics, and I understand how controversial this phenomenon is, and I've been attacked by skeptics for about 8 years now, having researched this and revealing some of my experiences. And it's just, I don't expect everybody to believe in this stuff, but until the funny thing about skeptics is they're always looking for evidence. And it's not until you actually find some or you have a paranormal experience, you're not going to necessarily believe in it until that happens. And so and I heard that so many times with people of a scientific mentality that, when the ZoZo phenomenon has happened to attorneys, lawyers, doctors, I've got some just crazy stories that are going to be in this book, revealed for the first time. And it's taken a lot of research, a lot of stories. I was kind of glad I've waited this long to write the book, because of getting a chance. Everybody loves a good ghost story.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah! And I remember the last time. I remember the last time you were on my show. I said, "When are you going to write your book, Darren?" And then here you are. I found out.
I remember that. I said, well, we're hoping to write it. I just don't know when the right time's going to be.
I know, and this is awesome. You was it Rosemary Gully is co-authored with you on that book.
Yeah, the Queen of the Paranormal.
Yes.
Rosemary Ellen Guiley. What a wonderful lady she is. I've known her for years. I helped her write chapter 13 of her book called Ouija Gone Wild that came out in 2012.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting book on Ouija phenomena. And she and I are going to be at OuijaCon here in 8 weeks, or 6 weeks, April 23rd to the 27th, I believe.
Oh, I thought...
Baltimore, Maryland. It's the official 125th anniversary party convention, was sponsored by the chairman of the board himself, Robert Murch.
Yeah, I'm showing them a picture with you and Robert Murch and the Ouija board.
Yeah, that's what I made right before the Ghost Adventure show. We got a chance to hook up, and I was actually able to see a lot of his part of his collection. There's an enormous Ouija collection. I mean, here's the world's foremost authority and collector of Ouija boards, and so we've known each other for a long time, talked a lot on the phone throughout the years, and it was very just really cool to be able to, just an average guy like me, to meet somebody like him who's got such a broad knowledge base on everything, especially the history of this this talking board, and it's there's hundreds of millions floating boards floating out there, manufactured by Hasbro, and meeting him was just crazy. He was a super nice guy, very intelligent, just a very thought-provoking guy. I'm proud that he invited me to speak at this Ouija celebration, so to speak. And so I'm, while I continue to warn people they can be dangerous, I may be crashing the party a little bit at OuijaCon. Some of the new research that I've got, all pointing towards this ZoZo character to be being from the demonic realm.
Oh, I know. He doesn't believe it, because I interviewed him, and he doesn't believe it. And I think Brian Hodges, who collects the planchettes, and neither one of them ever had a bad experience, so they say. And they don't believe that the Ouija board is dangerous.
There's a lot of people that don't believe it's dangerous, and there's a lot of people throughout history, though, that Edgar Casey, Harry Houdini. There's a lot of people that even Aleister Crowley himself, very respected people in in these paranormal fields that. And some people didn't reveal this until their deathbed, that they're dangerous. I mean, why? I don't know why people continue to. I mean, I think it's because until you actually have a negative experience on these boards, if and who knows? Some people just, like Karen Dahlman, she's always on the board. She never has a negative. She's had a few negatives, ultra negatives, she calls them, or whatever, come in. She'd offer the book, Ouija and the Spirits. And she's also going to be at OuijaCon, and she's a proponent of Ouija. Mm. She believes it can be. There's two sisters, I can't remember their names, but they wrote a book here a couple of years ago talking about the positive aspects of talking to the unseen world, and so it continues to be controversial. I just happen to be the guy that's gone through some very strange and negative experiences, and I'm a guy that perhaps thousands of people have sent me. Very negative experiences having to do with these boards, and so it continues to be very controversial.
Darren, can you tell us about things that happened when you were taping the Ghost Adventures episode that didn't make the show? Can you talk about those?
I would rather not disclose a whole lot of information as far as behind the scenes. I mean, Travel Channel gets pretty picky about what you say about that stuff, and so I don't want to piss anybody off. So, I can say that there was some things that happened inside that house that did not make the final cut that I really go into for professional reasons because of the show. But we will be talking about some of this on the upcoming Aftershocks episode this Saturday.
Can we go over the show then? Remember that I saw the episode as well. You were outside with your wife, Catherine, and
yes, Kathleen. I can say this: I'm not with Kathleen anymore. I had found out that she was using boards behind my back, and basically she had gone for a mental diagnosis and was diagnosed as having a multiple or dissociative personality disorder. And so, a common thread in a lot of these ZoZo encounters is it's very attractive to people who have these type of mental diagnosis. People that are depressed, people that are extremely lonely, people that are involved in alcohol and drugs, and their mindset may not be as grounded as one would like. And getting into some of these, constantly warn people to stay away from boards, especially if you're depressed or if you're taking antidepressants, these types of things. But ZoZo is still, it's going back probably to 2003 or 2004. Me and a buddy of mine were using a board, and he asked how he was going to die, and it's spelled car wreck with a K, and at night, all alone. These three things were spelled out, and I told him, let's not talk about it. Well, Randy died less than a year later in exactly the manner that Mr. Z said he was going to die. And so that really touched me, as well as another friend of mine who was the best man at my wedding, Mike Silver. He asked in a different session how he was going to die, and it spelled murder. That's all it would spell. He died. His death remains unsolved. As an unsolved murder here in Collinsville, Oklahoma. And so when you have two very close friends die in the exact manner of how the board, I began to understand that this isn't something that I want to keep messing with, but there's so many people that are just addicted to these boards. Not unlike an illicit drug cocktail.
Oh,
you miss the adrenaline rush. You miss the feelings that it can manifest, and that's why so many people are addicted to these boards.
I know.
And you can resurface repressed memory. There's a lot of psychological components involved in these Ouija sessions that I still consider very dangerous to people. And regardless of whatever expert tells you that they're not dangerous, I don't believe them. And but I still maintain a good relationship with these people that do think that it's it's just a tool, but. Regardless, there's just so much. We could talk about this for several hours as to these dangers, and the skeptical world believes that it's you're dealing with what's known as the ideomotor effect, and so it's caused me to really look inside the ideomotor effect to find out what's really going on in these Ouija sessions.
I know, and the thing is, but I want to go into talk about that. But can we talk a little bit more about Ghost Adventures? Are you allowed to? Like, I want to know what happened. You were on the Ouija board, and the Ouija board was spelled out kill and Zozo. What? Can you talk about that?
I'm sure. When me and Nick sat down to do the board, he had immediately said that he felt like something entered his body, and part of that episode that was cut out is when he actually he looked like he was possessed. He went down in the basement. He had a Ouija board. He was hugging it underneath the stairs, and the guys were freaking out. Zach and Aaron and me, and we didn't know really what to do, and so I think you can sense some animosity in that Ghost Adventures episode, and I believe it's the last episode that Nick Groff was in, and the Ouija entities immediately spelled, it surfaced, it did the rainbow effect. Kathleen got scared. She walked outside. She was behaving very erratically. And that's the thing about Kathleen is there have been a lot of people say she's on drugs and alcohol and that kind of thing, but people that don't know her, she was Kathleen, yeah, she's my wife, I love her, but she can be a strange person. The way she acts, she can be sweet one moment and vicious the next. And it's just because of this dissociative personality disorder that she was diagnosed with years ago. You know, it's just it said that we'd kill Nick, and so that kind of upset Mr. Groff, and they edited out some of the conversations that we have, because I mean he wasn't happy that this thing was focusing on him, but yeah, he could definitely tell I was not moving the planchette. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know that this thing would come through, but it seems to every time I touch a planchette, it's there, and so we heard these strange noises all over the house. Deep thuds, footsteps walking up and down these very strange, narrow, and that's one of the strangest aspects of this house, is that particular stairway is so narrow that you cannot carry furniture upstairs. No chairs, no dressers, no beds. And when I moved into this place, I didn't really notice that. And then you could always hear somebody walking up and down them stairs. And so we walked back in. Another thing that didn't make the final edit is the closet that my Uncle Tom lived in when we moved in was covered in these weird scratches that said, help me from my mommy.
Oh.
Mommy, don't hurt me. And so, after a couple of weeks of living there, and these strange events began to happen, I called the landlord and I asked the landlord, I said, hey, this might sound like a weird question, but is this place haunted, And she said, well, it's not something that we, come out and tell the tenants, but we've had several, people, sets of tenants that have basically just left all their personal belongings and left in the middle of the night and never returned. And so there was furniture there, quite a bit of expensive furniture that was left in the home when I moved in. I actually had to take a huge window and cut a hole besides the window to fit our stuff in, hoist it with ladders and ropes to get it up into this very strange house. And so yeah, me and Nick began, and was basically in the room, and Kathleen walking back in, and I don't know how, usually they lock the doors and stuff. I guess when she walked out, she left the door unlocked. But she came back in kind of quietly, and we were on the board, and when we keep hearing noises, and there were people outside. People make comments that they think Kathleen was walking around the house and causing these noises. There were representatives of the show outside. We had to rope off the whole outside because there was a crowd of people that were, trying to watch, see what was going on. Because I guess word had got around that Ghost Adventures was there filming for the very first time in Oklahoma. And so, Kathleen did go outside, and she walked down the street, and when she came back, she was acting very irregular, and she got scared and saying that she was sexually attacked. And she walked back out, and I became worried about her, and I walked out there, and she was gone. And I walked completely around the block of that house there, and could not find her. And I came back and told Zach, and Zach's like, "Hey, man, let's go find her." So me and Zach Bagan's driving around a very unpleasant area of town late at night during a lockdown of Ghost Adventure. It was crazy. He kept making comments. He's never seen such crazy stuff happening during a lockdown, and I think that comes across in the episode. Just the sheer not knowing what the hell's going to happen from one moment to the next. I think that really comes through in the episode. I think they did a good job of revealing that. You can look at Nick's eyes. I remember just sitting there after it said its name, and we just looked at each other like, well, here we go. Then we heard these noises, and then when we were gone, Nick was wandering around the house alone.
Oh,
and that's when the dog howlings began.
Oh, yes.
One of his radios, one of his microphones moved by itself and was malfunctioning. We had several things malfunction that didn't make the final video cut. Batteries going dead. The place was just alive with activity there for a while. And we come back, and I'd found out. I didn't take Kathleen anywhere. I'd found out that she'd made her way back to the hotel where everybody was staying. And she finally called me as we were looking for her.
Oh.
And me and Zach separated in two separate vehicles, and we're driving around looking for her. And then she called me and told me she was okay. And I had a friend of mine check on her that was there at the hotel. He assured me that she was okay. And so It's just one of those things. You couldn't handle it. And then after the episode, some strange things happened as well. Kathleen basically lost it. She spiraled downhill and became a very violent, disassociated person who actually attacked me, stabbed me, attacked a police officer, and attacked a emergency technician. And she's actually waiting to pull chains to go do a lengthy prison sentence at this time. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit in the Aftershocks episode. But along with, it's craziness. Some crazy things have happened since then. And I continue to surround myself with protection. I don't mess with boards. I've continued basically kind of ended my research. I've got enough research done now to complete the book. And it's just going to be a really, mind-bending look at this whole phenomena and what it's done to people, and several cases that I've been involved with that I've got permission to reveal just some very, very strange things.
Now, just before we started the show, you were telling me about some people have gotten killed now.
There's been 2 suicides that I've investigated. I don't have any permission from the family to get into those, but one of them was a private in the military, and that suicide happened in Afghanistan after talking to this thing on Ouija boards. And he actually contacted me, and I was consulting him during a lot of this paranormal phenomena that was happening to him and people that lived in his bunker. Some very strange accidents that happened with some of their weaponry. They were all having Ouija sessions over there in Afghanistan. And so there's been several people that have gotten into car wrecks after it actually predicted that they would. And so now whether or not it actually has an influence over people, or whether it plants the seed in someone's subconscious, we don't know. But in any event, I definitely tell people that it's very dangerous to try to ask how you're going to die. Any type of foretelling of future events. It's just dangerous, and these things have happened. These things have come true. It continues to. Whoever says that Ouija boards aren't dangerous, I just disagree with it.
Do you find that it's mostly the younger in the teenage group that now is using the Ouija board because they're so immature? You know how young kids are. They don't fear anything. Everything is a party time. Let's have fun, and they're so immature. So, do you think that that's the age group now that's mostly using the board?
Well, I would definitely, my opinion, that it's mostly used by a younger generation, and that's. The phenomenon, it seems to attract more teenagers and preteens, at least people that contact me because of events that are happening in their lives. Definitely, in the way that the Ouija boards are, marketed towards the younger demographic with their pink pastel boards and these supernatural boards, which, by the way, just found out recently that the supernatural board that came out is actually missing the letter Z.
You mean there's a new board called out a supernatural board?
It's the supernatural board based on the series Supernatural. And last night I was reading some complaints on Amazon.com that people that ordered the board, fans of the show and everything, they get the board, and here's this circular looking. It's manufactured. Well, USopoly is the one that sells the board, but they're actually manufactured by Hasbro, and so the letter Z is missing from these boards. And so I'm like, now what kind of explanation can we arrive to that this letter Z would be missing? And I posted something on Facebook about that and showed some pictures of it, and then Mr. Merch chimed in and said that it was a design flaw from the Hasbro. Now wait a minute. Here we have a company that's sold millions and millions of Ouija boards, and so why why would it make any sense that these designers that do this professionally, in some type of design flaw, purposely or without purpose, sell a board, the Supernatural board with beautiful artwork, just a beautiful looking Ouija board? I like to believe that there's a design flaw, that they left the letter Z off this board. I think it goes beyond that. I think that it just continues the whole mystery of the ZoZo phenomenon. The letter Z is missing from the board. I frankly think it's a great idea, Noreen. Keep the letter Z off these boards, because the letter Z, all these Z entities and ZoZo, all these different Z entities that continue to surface on boards that have negative agendas, that scare the crap out of people, tells teenagers. Now you got to look at if you're a parent, do you want your little girl talking to something that's wanting to rape them and is telling them that it wants to rape them and take them to paradise? And they ask you where paradise is. It spells hell. It tells them just vicious, sexual, predatory type of perverted type thing. I know I'm not going to let my daughter do it, and so it remains very controversial. But when I found out that the letter Z is missing off this board manufactured by Hasbro, it just kind of makes sense to me that maybe they finally, because of this huge crazy controversy, maybe they're starting to get some sense in them and leave this letter Z. Now, of course, if it's going to appear, it'll find ways to get around that letter Z, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much more time we have, but the letter Z, Noreen, is very fascinating. Has a very strange history, and so this whole phenomenon has caused me to kind of look at this letter and dig around. And me being a researcher, that's what I like to do, is I like to dig around and find things about topics of interest. And the letter Z has a very fascinating history. It's actually, not only was it eliminated from the Ouija board, but it's been eliminated from languages itself.
No way. No.
The early Latin language, it was eliminated for one specific purpose, Noreen, in that the mere pronunciation of the letter itself made one resemble what they called the rictus of death. When you say Z, guess what happens? Your lips curl back, your teeth are exposed, and so they eliminated the letter because of the fact that they thought it was evil.
Oh my God.
And then looking back into literature, and there's the letter Z has kind of a sinuosity in literature. There's even Shakespeare himself called the letter the horse on Z. The evil letter, the eschatological letter, the letter of indifference, the letter of prophecy, the letter of the zigzag, the evil twin of the letter S, as seen from from inside the mirror. It goes on and on. These very evil references to this letter Z. Now, do I think people like John Zappis are going to get possessed because they have the letter Z in their name? No, I don't. But as I understand, the Icelandic, it's not just Latin. There's been other languages completely omit the letter from their entire alphabet. And then, Robert Birch told me that they're going to reintroduce the letter Z in future boards, the Supernatural boards. And so it's going to be reintroduced. Okay, well, it was, the letter Z was also reintroduced into Latin. And so, this strange letter Z and this whole thing, it basically contains 2 sevens. And when you look at the numerology of the ZoZo phenomenon, you find that in the numerology, in the Gematria and Hebrew, Chaldean numerology, there's only two letters underneath the letter 7, and those 2 letters are Z and O. So there's a lot of fascinating connections that I'm able to try to bridge, along with the whole Led Zeppelin thing and the Zoso symbol, which Zoso is not a word. It's actually a sigil used in the occult, and these different versions of the symbol Zoso are found throughout very ancient grimoires and alchemical grimoires and grimoires of the occult written in French, along with the first evidence of Zozo appearing before the invention of the modern Ouija board in the Dictionary Infernal, written by Colin de Plancy. And so, when we're able to find direct historical references to this thing being demonic, I was the first guy to bring that forth, that it was listed as an actual demon in the Dictionary Infernal, long before the modern invention of the Ouija board. And so it kind of leads one to believe, now, are we dealing with coincidences here? I will reveal one thing that I haven't revealed to anybody else that's going to be in the book, is that in 1952, a man who was involved in UFOlogy, George Williamson, was using Ouija boards one night and come across an entity by the name of Zoe. And this particular spirit entity claimed that it was from a different planet, Neptune. And he actually had conversations, and this thing warned him that there was extraterrestrials that were being sent to Earth to damnify humanity. And so here we have another direct reference in history to a guy that was on Ouija boards, talking to something that started with a Z and ZO, and also, and perhaps one of the strangest Ouija encounters in the history of the United States is what's known as the Gulf Breeze 6 incident. And these were actual military members, high-ranking military officers that were experimenting with Ouija boards. And they actually talked to several different entities. One of them started with the letter Z that made all types of fantastic prophecies that actually came true. The government classified a lot of this, and recently some of that information has been declassified. They actually went AWOL from the military because they believed that the Antichrist, these entities had convinced these high-ranking military officers that the Antichrist was coming to Gulf Breeze, Florida, and that it would manifest itself in the sky, and that would mark the beginning of the Armageddon. And so here we have, Noreen, we have actual military officers that were experimenting with mind control and Ouija boards and running across one of these Z entities that had them convinced that the world was coming to an end. And a lot of these entities predicted earthquakes and floods that actually happened, and they were very specific in their prophecy.
Oh my
But some of
God!
them didn't come true, but some of them did. Okay. And if we look at, I'm able to bridge all these connections. If we look at the book Patterns of Prophecy by Alan Baum, written in 1966. He began experimenting with Ouija boards, and a particular entity came through, and he's written about this in the book that I was able to find. It simply went by the letter Z, and told him, it warned him to stay off of Ouija boards. The thing told him that every living being has a spirit, and its warning was not to mess with spirits of the dead. The young man, I believe he was 32 years old at the time, he thought that he'd become possessed by this Z entity. And I'm finding these all over the place, Noreen. I'm finding these particular stories throughout history.
Okay,
and so it's
Darren.
all this building this evidence that I believe that this phenomena is basically coming from some type of demonic realm.
Now, Darren, the Ouija board opens up a portal to these spirits that you don't know who you're talking with. Now, beside a Ouija board, would that also include like tarot cards or seances? What is that, the pendulum? Is that all considered part of that group, of the Ouija board?
I think so. I've heard, I've heard some stories about tarot cards. Now, I'm not any type of specialist by tarot cards or divining rods, dowsing rods, pendulums. I have been able to find, or people have sent to me some strange experiences in regards to the ZoZo phenomena on pendulums and automotive writing. And it appears to be jumping outside the realm of the Ouija in some of these other divining practices. And so I can't really comment as to, I think that it's all these types of oracle type of manners and methodologies to contact the other side. I think they're all kind of connected in some way.
So is ZoZo coming through then on seances, tarot cards? Is that demon coming through on those other?
It's coming through, Noreen. It's coming through in automotive writing. It's coming through in people's pendulum sessions and people's seances and people's ghost box sessions.
Oh my God, the ghost.
Coming through.
No way. Oh my God. Now what about digital voice recorders? Anything electronic?
I was basically involved with some investigations team because I thought that they thought I was contaminating their investigations because they were able to record EVPs of something whispering, that name, the Mr. Z. And so they were very friendly about it, but I mean, they thought that I had some type of attachment going on, and so who knows? I mean, I know that there's been several people send me EVPs of what they think is Zozo coming through audibly, and so it's kind of my opinion that this thing's figuring out ways, and that it was around before the board even was invented. Going back to ancient African cultures of the kings of Zozo that lived. There's the Viz animism aspect of the Zo people of Burma that believe they come from basically a god named Zo. There's just something about this particular word that is all over the world and showing its and showing up in history of they call the Zozo province of Africa, where they early explorers went and then just saw all types of man-eating beasts and crazy things happening in this what they called the Zozo province of Africa back in the 1800s.
No.
There's the secret society of the African Zo shamans that was recently revealed in a magazine, a scientific magazine, that they were actually spreading Ebola in Africa, what they call the Zo shamans. And so this stuff's out there, and as a researcher, I'm just writing about some of these things and just kind of, it's just, it may be incredible coincidences, Noreen, but I mean, it's definitely something I think that is worthy of research and possibly, endless speculation.
Yeah. Now, besides the Z demon, there's also Mama and what is there? ZoSo, ZoSo?
The ZoSo, that's the symbol by Jimmy Page. It's showed up in it's strange. Zozo is actually defined as Blackbird in the ancient Basque language. I thought it was kind of ironic that the only time Jimmy Page used the sigil Zozo outside the Zeppelin camp was with the band The Black Crowes.
Oh, okay. What about now, Mama? Now, is Mama worse than the Zozo? Is that more?
An article here I found on the internet about Mama here.
Okay. Yeah, I just.
Some guy that listed it second in line behind it. What's going on with the strange Mama entity is it's showing up in a lot of people's sessions. It kind of travels around with the Zozo character, and who knows? It could be just it could be bands of spirits, a legion of these ghosts or entities or poltergeist, whatever you want to label them, that are assuming the names to help spread fear or whatever. But the Mama entity definitely shows up, and I've actually read where this in different people's stories where it almost seems like they fight for the control of the board, and they will communicate each other, through the board communication.
So Zozo and Mama could be coming through at the same time. Who wins out?
That's hard to say. I mean, it seems that Mama definitely doesn't come across as often as Zozo does. But there's been another. I've actually got some stories of something that calls itself him.
Him.
I am. And I think there was even a story on the show The Haunting that involved that particular something calling itself him.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
It's just kind of creepy. And the Mama entity definitely seems to have the characteristics of a female in the encounter, and so it's very bizarre that so many people report contact with these particular entities in these boards.
So this new one coming out called him, where's that? I mean, how are they taking the place of Zozo?
It's common for people of Catholic, the exorcists, and the Christian missionaries and some of their early missionaries, going out and exorcising demons in different cultures, that it's very common for when someone becomes actually physically possessed that there's multiple demons involved. And so it does appear that they travel in packs, not unlike wolves, that come through on boards, and people that become possessed. It's common for them to be possessed by more than one demon.
Oh my God! How do they get rid of those? Can they, if one of these entities get into them or attach themselves, are they able to get rid of it?
It can be very difficult to get rid of some of these things, especially the Mr. Z. I know every time I put my fingers on one. Recently, I saw my wife a couple months ago, my first wife, and we was talking about, this was right before we went into the Ghost Adventures episode, and I run into her at a hospital. We're standing outside, and there was a cigarette pack laying on a column beside us. And we were talking. I said, Gina, let's try something. I want you to put your fingers on this cigarette pack. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, Doug, come on. I just want to see, because she was there, whenever the double-sided board, we first got into these early Ouija sessions when it first, came out. Mm-hmm. It revealed itself. But we both put our fingers on this cigarette pack, and instantaneously the cigarette pack began to move like a planchette, just crazily. And so it was like, what is going on here? I mean, there's something, me and her, it's commonly believed that there's a polarity involved when you're supposed to use, in some of the early instructions on Ouija boards, that use a male and female to do it. But that was pretty strange, And so, I know that there's people, of course, there's always people that don't believe in the spiritual aspect of it. I think that regardless of which side of a fence you sit, though, that the skeptics and believer alike, they all agree that the planchette moves because of impulses unconsciously generated by the Ouija participants. So, and it's in that fact that it's my opinion, it doesn't change the paranormality of Ouija phenomenon. Science is yet to explain how it all works. People say, anybody that's skeptical of Ouija phenomena, they automatically say, well, it's just what's known as the ideomotor effect. But it's definitely my opinion. I don't think that totally explains, the information exchange between what actually happens on Ouija board. There's definitely more going on than tiny involuntary muscle movements, Noreen.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to hear that people that use the Ouija board, and when the planchette would move, that person was probably psychic in some way, and they were getting the messages, and they were the ones that were causing the planchette to move. I don't know if that's true or not.
I've heard that could come into play with someone's like a light trance medium or something, and they actually seem to be more of a magnet towards spirit activity when they get on boards. That there's definitely a pronounced medium atmosphere involved. But when entire conversations are taking place involving invisible participants that reveal unknown knowledge to the players, are we to dismiss the statistical probability of those types of exchanges? In my own sessions, I noticed that there would be misspelling of words that I know that I would never misspell. And so does the ideomotor effect explain, what part of the brain, caused that forced inaccuracy? Mm-hmm. Why are we misspelling things? How do automated movements facilitate abilities, to spell out words and sentences in an unknown foreign language, such as Hebrew or Latin that's been reported? Or how, sentence structure can reveal slang or old-style dialects from years gone by? How does science explain, that the automatic response, such as in play with, the Ouija board, how is it able to produce a very powerful and negative exchange that can produce thoughts and perverted responses that we would never say to anyone?
Okay,
it comes across shocking.
I have a question to ask you.
Uh-huh.
If someone has an attachment, I don't know if you can answer this or not. If someone has an attachment and they play the Ouija board by themselves and they try to conjure up ZoZo, and if they do get communication with ZoZo on the Ouija board, can that I think you did answer that. Can that Zozo Demon get attached to this person that already has an attachment? Or will the attachment that this person already has, that is a real strong attachment, can it stop Zozo from coming in?
I've never been asked that one before. That's a cool question, and it's not one that I think that I would be qualified to really answer. It seems that people that use boards alone, they definitely seem to be more, attracted towards, people that, usually people that use it alone all the time are those ones that are depressed and alone, the feelings of loneliness, and it becomes an obsession.
But Darren, what if?
As far as, go ahead.
But what if somebody uses the Ouija for entertainment purposes, and they use it because they want something to happen, but nothing seems to happen when they're doing this by themselves. But in the long run, what could possibly happen? I mean, they're doing this like.
Well, I've actually heard John Zappis, and I would actually discuss this on a radio show one time, where he's been involved in thousands of investigations throughout the years, and it's one of the first questions that he'll ask someone that's reporting haunted activity is, have they been messing with a board? Because he's telling public with information that it does, there can be a definite period of time go by before, after getting on a board, and just like you said, for pure entertainment purposes, and then, a period of time goes by, and then a full-blown haunting can happen. And so, it's probably impossible to try to determine how these things work, what causes the haunting to finally manifest, if it is, springing from the Ouija sessions that one, would do, even for just strictly entertainment purposes. And one particular aspect of the phenomenon is not, when people attempt to conjure it, they don't have, a lot of luck, when they're just wanting to talk to this particular thing. It's definitely seems to just come about as what's been described as a drop-in communicator, where you're talking to particularly maybe a mundane spirit, the planchette won't be moving very, very slow, or you're talking to someone that is pretending to be a deceased loved one that is giving you this unknown information exchange, such as middle names, dates of birth, location of hidden objects, is able to reveal these types of things, and then bam, it says, sometimes it'll even say, beware, Zozo is coming. Oh. And then you will notice it drops in suddenly and unexpectedly and reveals itself.
Hey, dear.
And so how that's able to happen is just unknown, but it definitely is reported in so many different encounters with this thing. And then that's what I call a level 1 Zozo encounter. It's basically when it surfaces on boards, and it does the rainbow effect from Z to O, and it seems like it's very proud of its name, and so it's led a lot of people to even wonder if that's really its name at all. And so it's not something that can be proven, I think, but there's been a couple of exorcisms done that I know about involving the Zozo phenomena, where the exorcists were claimed to be successful by using the name itself, the rid demon from the body, similar to the case in 1816, when a young girl in the Dictionary Infernal was possessed by 3 different demonic entities. And so I was actually able to get that whole account translated from French, and this, and one of the, strangest thing about that encounter was one of the demons was actually reported to dwell in the girl's genitalia, just almost a savage possession, the way she was walking around with her hands and everything and being sexual.
Oh my God!
And again, in the Zozo phenomena, there definitely it seems to be attracted to young girls, and that's the most controversial aspect of it. But it's true, and there's been so many females that have been approached by this thing, and just a very perverse exchange happened, and that scares people with good reason, And there's been so many times that Google the phenomenon, Google the word Zozo, they'll come to my site. And there's been so many cases where people just didn't talk about it for a long time, because you'd be amazed how many times people say, well, Darren, you're going to think I'm crazy, but here's what happened. You know.
Is
and,
it?
so, you know, it's just crazy.
Oh my God! Is it mostly females?
No. Most of the, you know, it's mostly the females that it comes across in a sexual incubus type of character that comes through. But a lot of males are affected by it in other ways, as far as getting into their minds and becoming obsessed with.
Oh, so it gets in.
And so many different cases of it saying, claiming to be a guardian angel, a friend that was going to grant them special powers.
Mm-hmm.
These types of things, and these behaviors that were kind of drawn out by Stoker Hunt in his book, Ouija, the Most Dangerous Game. Some of these same types of personalities that come through on boards. That was in the book Aleister Crowley and the Ouija Board, written by Ed Cornelius. There's been a lot of literature written about these books, and most of the books that come out on Ouija boards basically are warning people that they can be dangerous, and so the controversy continues.
Oh, God. Oh, you should have just heard your voice. Oh, how weird. Oh, my God. It was like your voice went demonic.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you hear it on the playback, it got really weird. It was weird.
Well, we're talking about a weird phenomenon here, so I've done other radio shows where things like that were, kind of happened. I'm not sitting here I don't have any electronic equipment. I'm actually outside right now. But Doreen, this phenomenon is very real. It affects way more people than what people imagine. If you look at my site counter for the old blog that I did, it's people have landed on my site from the four corners of the earth.
Yeah, I'm showing them your
the Arctic Ocean. I mean, who's gonna land on this from the middle of the Arctic Ocean in strange remote locations? It completely covers the United States, the UK, Australia. It doesn't cover Australia, but I mean, it's just the interest in this has been crazy, and I consider it to be a very real paranormal type phenomenon that's happening to so many people. And so I do think it's a responsibility of mine to warn people of things that have happened to people, reveal the things that happened to me involving these boards. And now that since this Ghost Adventures episode's come out, all the people that were watching the television show, that are experiencing strange, just by watching a show, I've yet to see something, besides maybe the film The Exorcist, of things of this nature happening. And of course, The Exorcist was based on a true story. It just, even during the filming of the film, I Am Zozo, very strange things happened on that film with me, basically, something happened on the inside of the place that I'll go into in the book. I was basically attacked by something in a part of this huge Freemasons retirement center that was rumored to be haunted throughout the years, and that's why they chose the location to film my scenes in that film. So it's when I walked outside and saw that big raven in that tree, and it was making laughing noises and cocking its head back and forth, and it just sounded like such a human laughter that it caught my attention, and I grabbed my cell phone and filmed this bird, this raven jumping out of a tree and then completely disappearing before your eyes. And that's, I just happened to be, I guess, at the right place at the right time to capture that. But it was featured on Fact or Fake. They were not able to determine whether it was real or something that I may have hoaxed. But I can guarantee, I dare anybody that's in the digital forensic expert field, and it has been sent off to one through the show, and they definitely said that it's not been tampered with. No. I did not tamper with that video in any way, but it clearly shows a raven disappearing. And what's so odd about that is the whole ravenology aspect, and how these ravens and blackbirds and crows are kind of tied in with the Ouija board. They're actually there's Ouija boards out there, mechanical boards that have ravens built into the board. It's common to have these birds, these corvids, their images on these boards because they're considered such an animal of prophecy. And so with the birds being found in this strange Zozo board, with preserved blackbirds, and then being able to get that on film, it just really adds to the mystery of the whole phenomenon. It continues to affect people.
Wow. So it's this Saturday that Ghost Adventures is going to show the Aftershocks?
Yes, this Saturday on the Travel Channel.
Okay. So that would be awesome. I'll have to watch that. Now, I also have a picture of you with your book. And this book, when will the book be out, Darren?
We're hoping it comes out later on this year, possibly a Halloween release. If not, maybe a little bit after. We're hoping. It's not set in stone. We're still in the writing stages at this point. And so, I haven't finished it by any means. I'm still writing every day. And hopefully have it done by I've got kind of a deadline that me and her have talked about, and so definitely it's going to be a pretty fascinating book, but including a lot of these spooky stories and some of the things that I've gone through and the research, and so it's just going to have a lot of cool elements in it as to just a hard look at this whole phenomenon.
Oh my God, that's going to be so awesome! And then I've already showed them, but I'm showing them again your blog spot. Where you have some fascinating information on there. And
it's just Google it, and I mean I haven't been able to make any. I've been locked out of that thing for about 3 years now.
I know.
So I get hacked in, it's changed my password, but it's still got a lot of stuff in there, a lot of stories and research, and it's just been there since my early days when I first came to the public with this with my experiences, and so it's pretty. It almost reads like an old school National Enquirer or something, but I mean it's kind of cool.
Well, do you have a website?
No, I've been building one for the last several months, and it hasn't gone through a couple different website designers, and I haven't got the right look of what I'm wanting to put out there. Was definitely like the one you've come out with. I was going to even talk to you about whoever designed that. I like the way they did that. Mine was pretty much a little more sophisticated as far as the interaction. I was wanting to build just a total interactive website, but it is in my plans to go ahead and finish the website when the book comes out. So it's something I'm still working on and hope to have out in the near future.
Oh, I'm having a new website built as we speak. It won't be out for another month. It's going to be really complicated, and I have to hire somebody to take care of it because I have no idea what the hell to do.
Very complex stuff.
Oh
I know how those websites are, and it's something you got to stay on top of, and it almost takes a whole team of people to put it together to keep it up and running. So it can be very, very hard to do, but I look forward to seeing it.
Oh, yeah.
I know the last one come out looked really great. I mean, I was checking that out here a while back. It looked really cool.
Oh, well, the new one won't look anything like that, but I'll be happy to get a new website up. Well, Darren, once again, Darren, I aired a show with Darren a couple months ago, about 5 months ago, and this is what the thumbnail looks like. So if you get a chance, go onto my front page of my channel, and this is on there. It's the second highest viewed show on my channel. It was awesome. It was a fabulous show, so check it out, everybody. Darren, thank you so much once again for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you.
So thanks so much for having me, Noreen, and let me ramble on. I know I ramble on a little too much, but it's been fabulous. I love you to death, Noreen. Keep doing such a great job, and we'll talk in the near future.
Thanks, honey. Thank you. I love you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And thank you again. I love you guys. Good night, everyone. Thanks.